In the quiet darkness of March 18, 1990, while Boston celebrated St. Patrick's Day, an audacious crime unfolded at one of the city's most revered treasures, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Known for its rich collection that included works by Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Degas, this museum wasn't just another building filled with art. It was a historical landmark, crafted from the visions of Isabella herself, who made it clear in her will that no piece should be altered or removed, lest the entire collection be auctioned off in Paris. That night, the museum's usually quiet halls became the stage for the largest art theft in history. The players in this real-life drama included a pair of security guards, one experienced and the other less so, who found themselves outwitted by thieves dressed as police officers. These weren't just any thieves. They knew exactly what they were doing, which pieces they wanted, and how to get them without leaving a trace. As we dive into the details of how they managed to pull off such a heist, keep in mind the stakes and the sheer audacity it took to steal from a place so well guarded, both by man and by the legacy of its founder. What kind of person planned something this bold? And how did they manage to vanish, leaving behind no trace but empty frames and a mystery that baffles us to this day? Let's find out. Before the theft, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum was kind of like an old house full of treasures that hadn't changed much since it was built. It had some basic security, think doors that locked, a few alarms here and there, and security cameras that were just okay. The guards were there to watch over things, but let's be real, they weren't prepared for a heist that looked like something straight out of a movie. The security system had some serious gaps. For instance, the museum didn't have the kind of bulletproof, unbreakable glass you might expect to protect priceless paintings. And the alarm system, it was pretty old school, not connected to the police or anything. That meant if something went wrong in the middle of the night, it wouldn't be until morning that someone would know something was up. Now about the art that was stolen. It wasn't just any art. We're talking about pieces by some of the biggest names in history, like Rembrandt and Vermeer. These weren't just decorations, they were masterpieces, part of the culture and history that go back hundreds of years. They were worth a fortune, sure, but their real value was in what they meant to art lovers and history itself. Stealing them was like ripping out a piece of the world's heart. The museum's setup was unique because of a very specific demand by Isabella Stewart Gardner when she set it all up. She was super clear. If you change anything in here, you have to sell everything and give the money to Harvard. That meant no big updates to security or modern renovations could happen, which kind of tied the hands of the people running the place. Economically, it was a big deal too because, believe it or not, the museum didn't have insurance for its artworks. Insurance costs a lot of money, especially for art worth billions, so they just went without it. This decision was a huge risk. If anything went wrong, there was no safety net to catch them. And when the art got stolen, there really wasn't much of a plan for what to do next. The theft didn't just leave empty frames. It left a lot of questions about how to protect important stuff without breaking the bank or betraying the wishes of the person who started it all. So how did these guys pull off one of the biggest art heists in history? Let's break it down, step by step, and see exactly what happened that night at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. It all started late at night, around midnight. The city was buzzing with St. Patrick's Day celebrations, which meant fewer eyes on the streets and more noise to cover up any shady business. The thieves, dressed as police officers, knew this was the perfect cover. It was just past 1:00 a.m. when they made their move. They walked up to the museum's side door. Remember, this is where only employees and deliveries usually go. The security wasn't exactly tight. The museum had 2 guards on duty that night, but let's just say they weren't prepared for what was about to happen. The first guard saw the cops on the security camera and didn't think twice about letting them in. He buzzed them through, thinking they were there to help, maybe checking on something after the busy holiday. But as soon as they got in, the script flipped. These weren't friendly neighborhood cops. They were the thieves, ready to pull off a massive steal. They quickly overpowered the guards. How? By using some smooth talk and a bit of intimidation, telling one guard they recognized him as a suspect in some made-up case and needed to bring him in. Within minutes, both guards were handcuffed and out of the way. Tied up in the basement, no threat to anyone. Now, with no one to stop them, the thieves had the run of the place. They knew exactly where to go and what to take. Their choice of art was odd to some. Why take this piece but leave that one? But they had a plan. They bypassed some of the biggest names and went for specific items, like Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, which was his only seascape painting. Their methods were crude yet effective. Instead of taking the paintings down, they cut the masterpieces out of their frames. It was quicker and less fussy, but caused irreversible damage to priceless art. All this took them about 81 minutes. Just over an hour to walk in, tie up the guards, cut out 13 works of art, and disappear into the night. By the time the sun came up and the theft was discovered, the thieves were long gone with $500 million worth of art. No alarms had gone off, no police were alerted, and the only clues left behind were the empty frames and the stunned faces of the museum staff when they arrived in the morning. What sticks out about this heist isn't just the value of what was stolen, but how boldly and cleverly the thieves used their knowledge of the museum's weak spots. They planned it perfectly, knowing when to strike, what to take, and how to get away without leaving a trace. That's what makes this crime stand out in the history of art thefts. Not just the what and the when, but the how and the why. Now, imagine this. The museum opens the day after St. Patrick's Day. It's supposed to be just another day, but instead, it's the start of one of the biggest mysteries in the art world. As the early morning light spills into the museum's quiet halls, the first staff member steps in. Everything seems normal until they reach the Dutch room. That's where the heart of the museum's collection beats the strongest, and it's exactly where the chaos begins. The scene they find is shocking. Priceless paintings are missing. All that's left are the slashed frames hanging empty on the walls. The room is a mess, a clear sign of the haste the thieves were in. The museum's alarm bells hadn't rung out, thanks to the clever trickery of the thieves. It's a silent scream in the art world. $500 million worth of masterpieces gone, just like that. The guards, who had been tied up and left in the basement, are found still struggling from their restraints, bewildered and shocked. They explain how they were duped by people dressed as cops. Can you imagine that moment? The realization that you opened the door, not to help, but to the very people who would pull off the biggest heist in your museum's history. As the news hits, it's pandemonium. Police swarm the museum. Forensics teams move in, dusting for fingerprints, looking for DNA, anything that might lead them to the thieves. But here's the kicker. The thieves were pros. They left nothing behind. No prints, no strands of hair, nothing but the echoes of their footsteps. It's a clean job, too clean. This discovery kicks everything into high gear. The FBI gets involved. The art world reels. And suddenly, every expert and armchair detective has a theory. Who could have planned something so bold, so precise? Was it an inside job? Did someone betray the trust of the museum? Or was it the work of a notorious gang known for art thefts? Rumors swirl about connections to the criminal underworld. Maybe it was a vendetta against the museum or its benefactors. Or perhaps it was about money, a black market where these stolen treasures could fetch millions. But let's add a twist here. What if the mastermind was someone nobody expected? Imagine a shadowy figure, known in the underworld as the painter, not just for dealing in stolen art, but for his own failed ambitions as an artist. He orchestrates this heist, not just for the money, but as a twisted form of revenge against an art world that never recognized his talent. It's just a theory, but in this story, every angle needs exploring. The days turn into weeks, then months. The initial leads go cold. The stolen masterpieces become the holy grails of the art world. lost, sought after, but elusively out of reach. The authorities are desperate. The museum's reputation hangs by a thread, and the thieves. They're out there, possibly watching as the world scrambles in the mess they left behind. That's the climax of our story. A blend of truth and mystery, a crime so perfect that it seems more like fiction. It's a story that captivates the world, keeps everyone guessing, and keeps the legend of the missing masterpieces alive. Now, let's see where this leads us as we try to piece together the puzzle left behind by the most daring art thieves of the century. So, what happens after one of the biggest art thefts ever? Well, the investigation launched into the Gardner Museum heist was massive. The FBI, local police, and private investigators, they all dug in, chasing down every lead, interviewing hundreds of people, and following up on countless tips. But even with all this effort, they hit dead end after dead end. The stolen art pieces seem to have vanished into thin air. Imagine that. $500 million worth of art, just gone. Despite the best efforts of the best minds, the whereabouts of those masterpieces remain a mystery to this day. The impact of this heist wasn't just felt by the museum. It shook the entire community. Think about it. This wasn't just a local crime. It was a cultural tragedy. Art lovers, historians, even regular folks who just enjoyed a weekend visit to the museum, everyone felt the loss. It was like someone had stolen part of Boston's soul. The museum itself had to beef up security, rethinking how to protect what remained and any new pieces that came in. Art preservation took on a whole new urgency, not just there but around the world. Museums globally started to reassess how they protected their own collections. As for law enforcement, this heist was a wake-up call. It showed the gaps in their readiness for art thefts, pushing for improvements in security measures and cooperation between international agencies to protect cultural heritage. Where do things stand now? Well, the case is still open. Every now and then, a new tip comes in. A new theory makes the rounds on the internet, or a piece of art pops up that might be one of the stolen works. But nothing has been confirmed, and the trail seems as cold as ever. The museum still hopes to get the stolen pieces back someday. They've even extended the reward offer indefinitely. It's a story without an ending, a mystery without a solution, yet. But one thing's for sure, the Gardner Museum heist continues to haunt the art world and the heart of Boston, a reminder that sometimes real life can be stranger and more dramatic than any fiction. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there knows something that could crack this case wide open. What do you think happened to those stolen masterpieces? Got any theories or new angles we might have missed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this journey through one of the art world's most perplexing puzzles, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Maybe someone out there holds the key to solving this cold case. And hey, if you're hooked on unsolved mysteries and daring heists, check out our more videos just like this one. Don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell icon so you won't miss out on any new mysteries we uncover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.